Yeah,
else?
you're not going to mention any
No, I
more of
won't.
it
I'm
now.
not saying no. I'll be
I've
quiet.
gone
I'll be
live
quiet.
so very early.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
typical.
The
Hello,
council said
dear
I shouldn't
viewers,
say anything.
Cliff and Johnny, and
Or
yeah,
Gary, before I go any
yeah,
further, have you got monetization on this stream?
shouldn't have.
Okay, just wondering.
Shouldn't have. No. Oh yes, I saw the comment. In some ways that's meaningless, really, isn't it? Because they'll chuck adverts in anyway. Yeah, regardless of what I don't have these live streams monetized, but that doesn't mean adverts aren't going to appear.
Yeah, they reserve the right, don't they?
They do.
Your other channel monetized? Like, is this channel monetized?
The channel is
channel
monetized.
This one is monetized. Yeah, well, they'll probably respect your non-monetization of the stream then. It's only if you don't have a monetized channel that they'll throw the ads in.
I don't know. Maybe someone in the comments do adverts appear? I've never watched it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, because I'm living high on the hog off this, really, the whole YouTube channel thing. So I don't need any more.
Look, hey, there's questions in the comments. That's unusual, isn't it?
Yes.
Johnny DRC. Yeah, you won't believe the prices here, mate. This is the cheapest town in the country to live in. The property prices are lower here than anywhere else.
Really?
And that's one of the reasons I'm here. Cost of living is very low. I mean, the property prices, and this is why, I've always wanted to set up a model park and whatever, but I could not. Bot Grinder bought 10 acres for $30,000 in the USA. I could not buy 1 acre for less than $100,000. No, a quarter of an acre, sorry, for less than $100,000. Sections here are ridiculous, and property is so outrageous. Look at the prices.
Yes. So what is 739,000 New Zealand dollars then? What is that?
Probably about it's probably about 400,000 US.
400,000. I'll go to get my calculator out here. 400. That sounds like an awful lot. US dollars equals in rands. Let's have a look. Okay.
And that's for 7,000 square meters. That's not very big.
Let's go the other way then. Let me tell you what our 5 hectares cost us here in dollars. It's 1.25 million rand.
South African pesos.
Wow, yeah. $65,000.
Yeah, it's an order of magnitude, merely. Well, half an order of magnitude.
Wow.
The prices, because what happens in New Zealand is people don't put the money into banks. They don't put it into business investments. They put it into property. So property prices are up because people are using it as a speculation, as a way of making money. So what happens is every generation ends up paying twice as much as the generation before. So generations are borrowing from future generations. We're borrowing from our children. And so it's just making the burden. Property ownership has dropped to record lows in New Zealand because nobody can afford to get on the property ladder anymore. A basic house in Auckland, $1 million.
The youngsters. Just think of the youngsters. Well,
it is.
Let's get away from a farm. Let's go to... Hello there. There he is. We're beginning to talk about Bruce's. I am staggered at the price of property in.
And this is one of the cheapest places in the country. Yeah.
Wow, that's extraordinary. I don't know what that is in pounds. Let's have. No, that's taking too long. It's lots. Yeah. Hello there, Ian.
Yeah,
it's
heaps,
lots.
man.
It's lots. It's lots. it's a unit of lots.
Yeah.
My word. Because I don't know, Ian, if you've seen Bruce has problems. They won't let him fly anywhere.
No.
And if he does go and fly, and his chums want to go and fly now, they have got to log each RC flight on their UTM. Is it actually a UTM or is it a?
Well, actually, they've clarified that now. What they're saying is that if you are not a Model Flying New Zealand member, then you must get permission for every day's flying through filling out forms and log every flight on Airshare. So as I'm not a Model Flying New Zealand member, if I want to go down and spend an hour practicing my launch with my DLG, I've got to go and fill out the forms. The person that's going to supervise me has to fill out the forms. And then I have to log every 50-second flight on on the AirShare wannabe UTM thing. And is this about safety? Is it about safety really? Is it? I'm learning that people are using safety as an excuse for everything, as a justification for everything, taking your freedoms, taking your privileges, and then selling them back to you. Because I just can't get it. I mean, I am the guy who has 60 plus years of experience, never having hurt anyone or broken anything. I'm the guy who has pioneered the use of technology as a safety aid through bringing a radio to the airfield, ADSB alarm. I'm the guy who has made videos about safety and who can fly well enough to, do reasonably well. Yet I've got a 30-year-old Karen telling me what I can and can't do, who's never done any of this.
Oh, because of this, Bruce. It's because of this. Money.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely right. You've nailed it, mate. Absolutely. And it's coming to the rest of the world. I'm just... And this is why I challenge these things and why I try and, stand up for the hobby, because if people don't do it, then we'll just get ridden over and it'll just be a footnote in history. There used to be a hobby called flying model aircraft.
It's just staggering. And I'm amazed the council can, well, I suppose they haven't put sanctions on you per se, but they know you haven't got your model flying New Zealand wings. So that's done it, hasn't it?
Well, it's not even wings, it's membership. Because
okay.
As the CAA say, it's okay for me to fly at the airfield as long as I'm supervised by somebody with wings. That's how I've been flying, completely compliant with CAA. The council has decided no, membership is also a requirement now. So they're saying you've got to pay this organisation money before you can use our airfield. They don't do that for manned aircraft. Why are they doing it for models?
And does that give their users some or people on the airfield some insurance from your model flying organisation?
I've got my own public liability cover. Yeah, I've always had it. So it's not a case of insurance.
Yes. But
I've provided the council with copies of the insurance policy. They've seen that the evidence that this is the case and the insurance is in place because they demanded it and I gave it to them.
Okay. So they know you're insured. Yeah, What's if you're bound with council and you've upset Sean? Yeah. I don't know what to say, Bruce. I do not know what to say about this one. It's a sod. And have you? Well, you wouldn't want to dob anyone in, but hopefully you've got a field outside of city limits that you can go and fly from. That's not.
That's the problem. There's nothing. The problem is that we have our regulations are unique in so much as the CAA cedes control of the airspace for model aviation to the property owner. So and the default is you may not fly over any property without the prior permission of the owner of that property. So by default, the entire country is a no-fly zone. You've got to find somebody who will give you permission to fly over their property. And used to be you just go to a farmer and offer them a bottle of whiskey every year and they say, use the back paddock. We have health and safety rules in this country now so that if a farmer does that and someone gets hurt on that property, they are liable for huge sums of fines and all sorts of things. So the farmers are saying, I can't take the risk that you guys might trip on a bloody cow pat and break a leg. The whole thing is just completely, unless you actually own your own property, you're completely stuffed. Unless you go into and join Model Flying New Zealand. But I was on that situation where I can't afford to, I've got flying at the airfield's one thing, but that usually only happens on a weekend. It might be great to think, I've got the right to fly at the airfield, but I can't do it without a spotter because it's not safe. It's, for example, on the weekend, had a glider come in. I was mowing the grass and, a glider's turned up. No noise. And if they don't make a radio call or they don't have ADSB, you don't know that they're there until they're there. So I don't fly at the airfield without a spotter. It's not because it's rules, because it's common sense. So normally during the week, there's no one available to spot for me. So I can't fly at the airfield anyway. The only time I fly is on the weekend. But during the week, I'll fly around the house with the tiny whoops and things.
Yeah.
But that's against the regulations because FPV, no spotter, beyond visual line of sight. And Model Flying New Zealand said, we can't have you doing that because it places our organisation in bad standing with the CAA. Yeah. We must enforce this. And so I had a choice. Either I can fly 90% of the flying I do around the house and things, or I can fly on the weekends at the airfield and not around the house. So, I'd rather do most of my flying around the house, and I have to do that. And so there's not a choice. I can't do both, one or the other. So why should I have to? It's not like either of them is creating a great deal of risk for anybody, but it's not about risk, it's not about safety. It's about compliance and control. That's what we've reached at this stage.
Well, we're grinding Mitchell's gears here, but Bruce has been banned. She grinds lots of gears. And Cliff's intrigued. Bruce, Who's got it in for you? This feels personal.
Oh, the whole council, because you've seen the videos on YouTube. You've seen the videos on YouTube where I've caught the mayor out lying. I have caught them bullying by saying, you cannot film us when the law says I can. They make stuff up. They lie and they bully. And even when I put that video up of the mayor telling lies on YouTube, I got a letter from the council lawyer demanding I withdraw it, take it down, or they'd sue me for defamation. And I said, bring it on. And they knew that I knew they wouldn't do it because it wasn't a lie. It wasn't defamatory. It was a fact. You can't sue someone for presenting a fact. So it was simply an act of bullying to pay a lawyer $1,500 to send someone a letter when there was no legal grounds for a defamation case. That's the bullying that goes on. And the lies are, obviously when I went to the council and said, look, okay, if I can't fly at the airfield, I'll just fly in the parks because we're allowed to fly in the parks. And the woman Karen came back and said, be advised that you are not allowed to fly in the parks and reserves because they're within 4K of the airfield and you'll need a pilot's license or model flying New Zealand wings, despite the fact that their policy says shielded operations allowed, where neither of those things are required. So they lie, they bully. It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it doesn't worry me. It doesn't worry me because when anyone in authority acts in this way, I have no respect for them. And if I have no respect for them, I have no respect for their rules and regulations. Therefore, the rules and regulations don't affect me. It's compliance by consent. I withdraw my consent. If you're going to be arseholes, I'll fly where I want to fly, when I want to fly, how I want to fly, with safety as my number one priority, not compliance with rules that are nearly a decade out of date. That's not going to give you safety. I'm the guy on the spot. I'm aware of all the factors which affect the risk profile of the operation. I will make an informed decision using my 60 plus years of experience, using my in-depth knowledge of the regulations, my in-depth knowledge of the technology, its capabilities and limitations. If anybody anywhere is in a position to make a sensible decision, it's me, not some guy behind a desk 8 years ago who wrote a rule that's way out of date.
And well, how does your, I mean, I don't want to get you booted off the airfield as well, but you've got your shed there or whatever you call it, your hangar. I mean, how's that all? So you're paying the council for that, I assume? Oh,
yeah. When I first moved there, having a hangar gave you the right to use the airfield, to use the runway and everything. It was part of the hangar lease. Then they changed it. Oh, no, you got to pay extra for that. And it costs $360 a year to fly a model at the airfield. It costs $140 a year to fly a manned aircraft at the airfield.
Wow.
Yep, that's the way it works, mate. And I use a grass strip that I mow myself, no cost to council. I don't even use the tarmac.
Have you thought of buying a manned aircraft and just sticking your model on the side?
Well, I thought I could piss them off. I could go and get a microlight license, and then that would give me the effect of the same as wings. But the problem is CAA would almost certainly not accept me as a fit and proper person to hold an aviation document.
Well, I wouldn't. So, yeah.
No, I wouldn't either.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it's all geared up against me. But I say the simple thing is when the regulations become ridiculous, they are no longer applicable. And that's the way I look at it. I'm not going to compromise safety for compliance.
Yes.
There have been many instances where I could have legally flown, but I didn't think it was safe enough to do so, and I didn't fly. I would have been well within the regulations to do it, but there are other factors not covered by regulations which made the risk of the operation too high for my tolerance for risk, and I chose not to do it. But I could have done it legally, and bad things could have happened.
Gosh, what a conundrum! And I'll be terrible. I mean, so you pay. It's just explain to me again how it costs you $365 for you to be there because you've got the hangar. Is that the hangar?
Yeah.
So that's
no. It's because flying at the airfield there's a fee, a $360 a year fee for use of the airfield for model flying.
And 140 if it's manned.
It's 140 if you've got a manned aircraft. Regardless, either case, it's regardless of whether you have a hangar. Yeah, but that's the way. I mean,
staggering.
Yeah, it is.
How did the fixed wing guys get away with half the price? Who came up with that number? Was that another little deterrent for you as well?
Just the council. That's the way the council does things. That's just the way they do things. They pluck figures out of their arse and go, yeah, we'll do that.
But did it ramp up slowly to double the amount for fixed wing aircraft, or did it start at double the?
It started. That's how it started right from the get-go. Yeah,
right.
Clearly, just a disincentive. I mean, they can't understand that. Like we flew there all Monday because it was a holiday. Not a single manned aircraft came in. On the Saturday, the only plane that came in was a glider that ran out of lift and didn't have a pop-up motor. And he said, "Is the airfield closed?" I said, "No. What do you mean?" He says, "Well, there's no airplanes here." I said, "No, it's just a normal day at the airfield, mate." And he couldn't believe that such a facility was unused on a brilliantly fine day when they were out catching thermals. And I said, that's what's happened when I came here. It was a bustling, busy little rural airfield with lots of aircraft, lots of people, models flying, full-size flying, 2 or 3 in the circuit. Everyone got on fabulously. And now the council has run it into the ground. And CAA and the council have regulated everything out of existence from the model perspective. This is what you get. And is it safer? Well, no, because I've been there 20 years. During that 20 years, there have been 4 manned aviation crashes, which have involved hospitalization, quite serious injuries at the airfield, manned aircraft crashing, right? There's not a lot of them fly, but a lot of them have crashed. Also during that time with the drag races, one hot rod rolled over and the guy suffered critical injuries. There's been not one injury in the model side of things, and the models haven't caused any injuries with any other users of the airfield, but we are regulated and charged out of existence. It's like, and we are the thing that has basically displayed the airfield to the world. We are we are Tokoroa to the vast majority of people that know about this place around the world, because it was 100 something million views now. Millions of views a year.
Absolutely. It's the only reason I know the name of the place.
Absolutely. And the council's funny. They have a team that do a social media report every month to council, how the council's been referred to on social media, have tweets and the Facebook, and we got 2 likes on our Facebook page, blah, 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 blah. And, the model jets were there this week and they flew their things, and there was a car event. We, the local club, and my videos never once get a mention. Not once. They'll talk about a tweet or 2 likes on the Facebook page, but Mr. Simpson got 2 million views this month. It doesn't. No, we're not going to mention that. It's abysmal.
So, help me out here. Was general aviation quite a big thing for getting around New Zealand in the 60s, 70s, 80s, or because you've got some quite large distances there and things? And I think you certainly see a lot of agricultural operations happening in New Zealand. So, was it a popular thing that has super decreased in popularity?
Yeah, it was. Aviation in the 70s, 80s was very popular. The problem is, like most things, it's got too expensive. I mean, to get a private pilot's license, it's 20 grand.
Yeah.
And when you consider that this is a very deprived area, I mean, like there are a lot of people on benefits, the median income is probably, it wouldn't even be 40 grand. So very few people can afford to spend half their pre-tax income on getting a pilot's license. And even if they do, running is something like 172 here is costing you about $280, $300 an hour. And even a microlight, an LSA, like a Technam or something, it's $150 an hour. And these people can't afford that. They don't have that discretionary income. So the airfield sits there unused. And the ratepayers pay for it. They can't have access because it's a controlled area. So if you can't walk on there without the permission, without a proper reason, or you get trespassed and fined up to $3,000 or something. So these poor people are paying for something they can't use, will never use because they can't afford pilot's licenses. And there's basically just a tiny handful of people who have access to this facility. And even then, the council wants to get rid of myself and,
What do they charge the motorbikes and things like that?
Well, they lease their land. They lease it, and this is the ridiculous thing that they lease a big chunk of land for. I think it was last time I checked, it was $1,500 for the whole motorcycle track, right? And the same for the go-karts, $1,500 for the whole go-kart track. I have to pay $1,300 for my tiny hangar plot.
Is that per person per
hangar.
Or for that?
Per
annum for the go-kart track. Is that for the track? So that's divvied up between all the members, or is that per person?
Yeah. That's the whole thing, just to lease that piece of land.
Sure.
And they were leasing. Yeah. They did own the piece of land across the fence from the runway where there's a horse racing track. They did own that, and they were leasing it to the local racing club for $2,000 a year. And the racing club were then leasing the grazing rights for that piece of land to the farmer for $8,000 a year and pocketing $6,000. How's that for good management?
Amazing. I'm very sorry you find yourself in this situation. It's you say it doesn't worry you too much and you're up for the fight, but I'm sure that's not entirely the case. I'm sure it does bother you a bit.
So you could worry yourself to death, or you could just say, "Yeah, let's get on with it," and
Well, there's also that. There is also that.
But you were looking at land prices before. I mean, one of the things like Bot Grinder in the USA, he bought 10 acres for 30 grand, and it was a remote 10 acres, but perfect for what he wanted. I mean, I would love to build a model park here, but even when I bought 40 grand of people's money to the council, they said, "Go away. We don't think those people would honour the pledges." That's how anti they are. When I want to hold an international event there, they want a 6-figure deposit, and they want the names and addresses of everybody that might come. Yet no other club or organizer is required to do any of that. Only if I come along with these things to fill the motels and fill the shops and fill the cafes and restaurants. No, you must pay to do that. It's like, what the hell? It just speaks to these people. They feel threatened by me because most people, when confronted with like a bureaucracy or a council, local government, they will just take the word of what's said. They'll back off. They won't challenge anything. They'll just be nice little subservient people. I don't. When I see injustices and people doing bad things, I call them out on it, and they don't like it. They're not used to it, and they don't like it. So their job is to silence me, get rid of me,
Well, when are you going to run for mayor then?
I can't.
Why not? Because you're Australian.
I'm not a New Zealand citizen.
Yeah, okay.
You can vote. Yeah. I can vote in all the elections, but I can't run for any position without being a citizen. So, anyway, just being one in a voice of like what are there 10 other people? It's useless. I've known some councillors, but really good councillors, and they stayed a term and disappeared because they just were treading water. They couldn't get any traction with anyone else, and it was so frustrating for them to be in that situation where they wanted to do the right thing. Everyone else was looking out for themselves.
I don't know. That's terrible. Well, I'm glad. It's terrible. Let's. I don't mean to be flippant and change to something else just for the.
No, we should change to something else.
I just don't know what to say, really. Now, Ian sent me this video here. Now, dear viewer.
Oh, yes. Is this the RG Pilot one?
Oh, you bloody git. That's what I was going to say.
We can't say categorically it's got RG Pilot, but it's very likely. This is the...
it's definitely got something we know on it, though.
Yeah, that's Cube Pilot here.
Antennas.
GPS.
There's 4 buttons there. What do you think those? Is that buttons? What is that? Yeah, it is, isn't it? Guarded switches.
Well, they're probably the different air horns, They
have got a video where they show you also in flight, just explain what all the controls are actually. But this was just interesting because, we can't argue now that China is flying hobby drone parts in eVTOLs, lightly running open source drone software. So when you think of all the drama we have over someone flying a sub 249 G DJI piece of plastic, and yet we've got regulators that are on course to start certifying gear that's starting off like this.
What I want to know is where they get the steering wheel.
Well, and that's a gaffer tape is what I was going to.
Well, gaffer tape, but Kevin said that looks more like a bin bag that's been wrapped round and then cable tied. But yeah, so it does look more like a bag. Doesn't it?
He could be right, couldn't he? He could be right. Well, it's the thing of beauty.
That rollover cage is going to work really well, given how high his head is.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, as you say, the steering wheel. But why would you also change? We've got a joystick in your hand. Why would you put a steering wheel? I mean, I wonder if it's got an accelerator and a brake down there as well.
You'd wonder, wouldn't you? Why don't you have a twist on the twist throttle and or your twist and a throttle with a trigger or something?
Well, he's using the throttles on his thumb. You could see him rolling the throttle down with his thumb. But yeah, that's it. If you had twist on the joystick, because that's just, to me, that's complexity in one with the steering wheel. It can only be. Do you think it's yaw and roll put into that, or just?
It'd be just yaw on the steering wheel, wouldn't it? You could do that. Pedals would be a better option for that.
It might feel more intuitive. So
it's a flying motorcycle, really, rather than a flying car, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, this looks to be. This is probably their test rig. They've then got the fancier 2-seater carbon fiber body takeoff vehicle. So it looks really like this is where they test out the technology, and then it goes into the more credible looking device they fly out. But they're taking out what is essentially an experimental craft. And one of the flights, they just fly it off outside a Chinese KFC with a crowd around, people within 20 meters. So doesn't really strike me as the most sensible thing to do when you've got something that's still experimental. I mean, I don't think you can get away with this in Europe, but I think the concern is if this is kind of the evolution that's going on in China and it gets certified, once it gets certified there, I think it makes your life easier getting it certified elsewhere.
Does it really?
I get the impression it does, because you say, well, you know, we've proven it here. Then you make that as the argument. And it certainly seems to be winning over investors. And you see the European Union, all the UAM crowd, always trying, you know, the pictures and images are always with a lot of these Chinese products because they're becoming the first to market. But no one's actually saying, hang on a minute, you know, should we be casting them, you know, a bit more of a cynical gaze at what's going on and say, wait a minute, are these actually creating software from the ground, or, you know, or are they actually taking open source software and essentially making big drones?
I think the interesting thing on that software side is that people are very quick to say you can't use, you know, you shouldn't be using open source software in something that's lifting the camera around. You shouldn't be doing this for the BDOS. You shouldn't. And then there is someone sat in the thing. And I don't know, actually, I will put it back up because, well, I was going to say, I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever been hit in the finger, well, one of those, it really, really, really hurts. And the carbon fiber blades, you should have seen what it did to one of our sofas, but don't tell the wife. It's just like, well, beggars belief, doesn't it? I absolutely would not want to be sat in the thrust.
I think KTEL should make those. They slice, they julienne, they whatever, you know. Get yours now. I mean, it's free steak knives.
It's absolutely insane, isn't it, to be sat in the, you know, with his knees, his legs
are going to be down there,
and the plane of fire. Exactly, yeah. All the time when you're driving airplanes or whatever, you're told not to go anywhere near the propeller. Don't swing the propeller. Don't, as you say, don't try and stand in the plane of operation if you can avoid it. And there you are, 8 of them, all just wanting to fail. And
when there's so many modes of failure too, because I mean, they say, oh, you know, can run without a motor, but what if you lose one blade? What does that do?
Yeah. Well, you know, but when you lose that blade, where's it going? What's the chance?
Yeah, and it's going to shake the shit out of it, probably break the wires, you know, goodness knows what, and your RMU will be confused because of all the vibration. These things, they don't have enough fallback safety modes, like a helicopter auto rotation. You know, there's so many ways you can bring a helicopter down safely, or at least, you know, the pieces close together. But with these things, you know, battery fire in midair, you got no hope.
Yeah, one an interesting thing with this, talking about safety, is they have demonstrated, I think, the first eVTOL that's
you just say the parachute.
But Kevin made a good point. You might actually want to put it on while we're chatting, because it's the same channel.
See if I can find it, actually.
Yeah, if you just go to this channel there, videos.
Oh, okay.
Video.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Kevin made the point with this. Still, this test is within a plane hover. Now, if this was going full speed forward or in a direction, that's a better test, because you don't know here, is there a chance of any of the rope getting caught in one of the props as it initially deploys? You know, is the thing in a potentially where it can flip over and you land upside down, or any of those scenarios, which you don't get to test properly.
What about the school playground underneath and all the children that are crushed? Because you have no control on the glide, on the descent. That's it.
Again, I mean, they've been doing a lot of the testing here I mean, they haven't done in this particular case, but normally when you're looking, their testing is next to a main road. And if you had that and then he deployed, then obviously with the wind, that could take you onto the road with traffic and so on. So there's always question marks. I mean, a parachute is better than it coming down like a brick, but it definitely doesn't guarantee that there won't be,
Also, if you look at the science, you're most likely to have a failure at points of peak load, which is when you're climbing out from the launch point, which is when you're in the dead man's curve. Those parachutes just going to cover the bodies.
Well, I thought the deploy was. I think this is quite slow, really.
They don't show you in relation to the ground while that's deploying, do they? I want to see how far it fell. Typically, it's over 1,000 feet with the ballistic parachute.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's an easy test. It clearly doesn't look to be any wind.
Pretty high there.
It's in a plane hover, and it's not particularly high. So these aren't tested out yet, all the scenarios where it would be used in real life, and if it really does help or it comes down and it's in pieces.
Well, did they have a ballast in there to match the number of people that would be in there, or is this super light to make it look good?
And when it fires, what are the motors doing? What
it looks like I think they stop.
They're spinning. No, they're spinning, and then they stop.
Yeah. So I mean, so it's not like a break. It's they've obviously cut the power and then, because otherwise it would end up almost certainly cutting part of it potentially.
Well, no. What I was thinking is that
flame out the side there. Is that flame from the ballistic?
It looks to have a device set in the front of it, and it fires.
Have a look at just when it deploys. It looks like there's a lick of flame out the left-hand side when it's looking back at the chutes. Just go on a bit.
Oh yeah.
Out the front. I think when it lands, you can see it. It looks almost like a 4-port thing.
You can use the greater than, less than key to go backwards and forwards frame by frame. Yep.
I'm trying. I'm gonna find those keys. Oh, I'm so good at this YouTube thing. It's like I was made.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yes, look, his covers disappeared off the front, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Actually, there's a smoke ring going ahead of it. Yeah, so it was engines running. So it's not like, because what's the reality is this is, I've had an engine failure, bugger, but I hit the ballistic parachute release. It's not. Why are you hitting it? And they've not included that in the time. But I mean, what my big thought on this would be that it also brings it into the EASA parachute regulations, which means it can't be going any more than 20 meters a second underneath it. Well, that's for the light jobs anyway. So I think it descends at 6 meters a second, it says, doesn't it?
I think it's 5.
5. Was it? Look at that. Opening at 50 meters. That looks a lot higher than 50 meters, doesn't it?
I'm surprised they can get full deployment in 50 meters and bring it to a suitable low velocity. It sounds awfully.
What does that mean? That's not right. That's more than 50 meters, surely. Let's see this.
150 feet, 160 feet.
Yeah, it doesn't look to be massive fly, but you can't really tell.
But I want to see the side shot, which shows it falling in the chute deploying. They've been very careful to cut this so you don't actually see how far it falls.
Yes, because we go from there to straight away to back there with another shot. There's it. Oh, that's a much better shot of the flame, actually.
Lots of flames there, yeah. Because I mean, to inflate, those chutes have to get air, and it has to be falling fast enough for them to actually catch the air. And I wouldn't think that 50 meters would be far enough for that full deployment of those chutes.
Well, it's not open yet, is it? What's this?
Here's the flames.
Oh, there's the flame,
yeah.
And there's the cover.
Yeah,
there's the disc.
So those chutes are fully candled at the moment, and then they've got to open.
Yeah.
In 50 meters. What, I mean, like 11 meters per second. How many seconds is it going to take to hit the ground?
I mean, the question would be as well if this is how it's going to be in the end, because it looks like they've kind of drilled holes at the front and the back, and then attached these wires in permanently onto the body. So those will be exposed all the time to the elements with the way it's designed at the minute. But this is, at this stage, obviously they're just testing it. So,
well, hopefully they've worked out how to do precautionary landings on power lines like Google did.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know. I haven't been looking at what. Not telling you it's a 5-inch quad. Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yes, I don't know. It looks very sus to me, and yeah, I can't think that. Well, maybe regulators will permit, but this isn't my biggest worry about it. It's the fact. Well, look, I suppose you're enclosed in this one.
I guess you've just got to hope that someone doesn't hit the parachute deploy when there's someone standing in front of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, you wouldn't want to be getting in and out from the front right-hand side just in case, would you?
Yeah,
you definitely wouldn't. And you'd want, if this was me, I would want to isolate the electrical power until just before I took off, and that will add a whole load of, so you arm the thing with an actual with a big with a big spark. But anyway, something to stop those, so that means the motors would never run until everyone was safely popped away. And because that the imagine getting in and have the engine spin up. Oof.
You can't operate a power saw without a guard. So how the hell are you going to do that?
Yeah. Well, they're trying the hardest, aren't they? All these people, they're definitely,
because airports are restricted. You don't have people wandering around tarmacs. It's quite a restricted area. But in an urban environment, I mean,
Yeah, exactly. That's not cool. Now I know one thing, we did speak with Ian about this because it happened, I think, 2 live streams ago with that Luton fire at the airport, and I am quite staggered that there was no sprinkler system in that car park at all.
We don't commonly have sprinkler systems, even in a lot of residential, like tower blocks. You don't have sprinkler systems. It's not unusual. I mean, a lot of car parks are basically, you have very little CCTV in that because they don't want any arguments over liability of your car getting broken into and stuff stolen. So you've usually got a minimal amount of CCTV and very little, basically it's just a concrete structure and the cars are in there, and it's, all they're worried about is getting the numbers in and getting the money. This obviously might bring thought of, should we have cars compressed so close together? Because obviously once we get a fire, and here it doesn't have to be an EV fire, it sounds like it's a diesel.
Hybrid, they reckon.
Yeah. Well, I think I think from what I've seen, it's a plain diesel, but it's kind of a bit irrelevant because once the fire catches, you've got the problem that you've got all the different types of cars, including EVs, that are all burning together, and you've just got an entire. Well, it's just a situation that's incredibly hard for fire to deal with.
Would sprinklers make a difference though? Because we're talking about fluid fires here. You got petrol, diesel. I'm not going to put out one of those fires. It's going to spread it.
Yeah, you've got petrol, diesel. You've got the EV fuel. You've got everything. It's I think it's just commentators from you can just say, oh, well, they should have had this. With hindsight, it's like, chances are you're still going to have a problem.
Car parks in shopping malls here have got sprinkler systems because the car parks are underneath.
It's just to keep the bodies cool.
Yeah, but you have those BMWs with flamethrowers out the side and stuff like that.
We do. Yeah, we do. We do. No, but it just. I was staggered. I just thought that was pretty negligent not to have those fire suppression systems in there.
The BCF, that was the best fire extinguisher.
BCF. Someone. So the police have put some kind of charge there, some precautionary charge, they said, or something of that nature. So it sounds like they're trying to imply there was some kind of negligence or something where
maybe the same ones that saw the Gatwick drone. You know what police are like?
Well, I think the thought is that somebody set a fire in there, isn't there?
I don't know if that's it, or there's some negligence on behalf of the driver where they may. I don't know until they say, we don't know.
Oh, okay. Well,
I mean, they're saying it's an accident, but someone's had this charge, which to me implies that maybe they're trying to do something against the driver. So it might be something of, you've not kept your car maintained. Maybe they found something in the MOT.
You rode it hard and put it away. That's what you get.
It's the MOT. Yeah, your MOT had failed. Therefore, God. Well, that shocked me, but plainly not. I'm obviously too easily shocked then. I don't get out enough.
I mean, we've got residential buildings here full of hundreds of people that could just burn in seconds. So, when you think about, well, there's cars burning, that's going to be lower down the list.
Yeah. It's I'm not sure what Alan there, Scott. I'm not sure what the insurers are doing about all this. I'm sure they're paying out quickly and easily without any
premiums will go up, eh?
I hardly any worry at all.
I bet. Well, you're going to have car parks, aren't you? Their insurance is going to go up likely a lot, and then that'll have to be passed on to everyone that's parking. We'll see.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see if they obviously can get away with that, but because they have, and that's how it was built. But not a good advert for a terrible thing if you've gone away on holiday and you come back and your car's in that molten mess somewhere. I assume it's just a completely not usable space now, and they'll have to knock it down.
Yeah, concrete's collapsed and everything, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what I assumed. Yeah, that one picked me up. Now, what else did I see? I know Ian sent me a couple of things, and I've forgotten one of them. Oh, one of them I couldn't. I just tried to open the one about. Oh, are you still there? You all went smaller. The one about the CA's the Freedom of Information request about the CA and its innovation projects and how they've not really provided much fruit. But that one's gone away from me. I can't get to that document from here.
Oh well, I'll see if it's enough time. I mean, to be honest, I'm not had time to look at that. I've had other many other things going at the same time, so it's kind of bottom of the list. But it was just one of those things that was.
But quelle surprise, all those innovation projects haven't produced any fruit. Funny old thing that, and a lot of that's a talking shop at Cranfield. I'm sort of less impressed at Cranfield and what's going on there, because they do seem to just get anybody in a room and say, here, like going to an Oprah show, you've won this much funding, you've won that much funding, you have this, you have that, now go away and just spend it down the pub. And it's where a lot of overseas companies have come. And I know, talking of overseas companies in the UK, not a lot of relevance to everybody, but Amazon and Wing are quite keen to get on the BVLOS committee that's currently kicking about, and it's being voted on. I hope they don't let them on.
So there must be a heap of hobbyists on that, considering that hobbyists have done more BVLOS than anybody.
Oh, and this is for commercial flight. It's not.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they still, the hobbyists have done countless hours of BVLOS, no injuries, no deaths, no property damage. You think there'd be something to learn from them rather than reinvent the wheel and go through the process yourself?
Yes, and Cliff's saying it's pretty clear that more money is needed to drive these projects. Yes, and Scott's saying there's one particular British company there. Oh, Scott has knowledge. Yeah, there's the one I know. There's the one British company I know of that quickly had to get an office above the chip shop in Cranfield in order to make themselves British. There's one I know. I wonder if it's the same one. They're either above the chip shop or the shop. I can't remember one or the other there. But yeah, it's a very, because that's a huge. It has potential. It's nicely placed in the centre of England, and it has a huge potential for being an innovation centre. But just seems a place. Anything that has pictures of old people like me in a suit with a tie talking about drones, it's probably no good.
I'd just like to see innovation that's about creating software, i.e. flight software, stuff for drones, or creating something new within the drone space, or even eVTOL, but something that's genuinely new, not just, grabbing off-the-shelf stuff and open source stuff and putting it together and saying you've invented something. But it just feels, and I don't know if it's true or not, but it just feels like all the money just goes into everything's about, we've got to control drones, it's got to be a counter UAS, or it's got to be a UAM, and it's all that, and it's all just trying to make there's problems where in reality there isn't really a problem to be solved. There's just we're making out there's this issue. This is our solution. It's going to cost lots of money, and we're going to dump it on everyone to pay.
And so in the UK, they're making changes again to the rules. When are they going to settle on a set of rules instead of jumping around and changing?
Yeah, that's the new. Are you talking about the around prisons?
Yeah, there's that as well as just general alignment with EASA and stuff like that, isn't there? There's a whole lot of crap going on. I mean, it seems like every couple of years, there's a whole new structure to the commercial drone licensing operations and everything. And you go from A2 CFC to something else. How can people possibly manage to run a business in that environment?
A lot of people are getting fed up with it now. That's why we're getting less people renewing the authorizations, because it's, people have been there. What was it, BNUC S and then PIFCO?
Yeah, BNUC.
Yeah. So you paid through all that again, time and time again, doing the same things, paying for the same, paying for courses just to be able to continue on flying. That's all it is. It's an artificial market we've set up with the CAA approving all this. We're keeping all these training entities alive by forcing this retraining that's not needed. And there needs to be a better way. I mean, I think, we need to have training entities for people that are first coming in, but we can't have an artificial market. I mean, you need something maybe there just needs to be a bigger fee when you're saying your annual renewal for everyone, and that the CAA basically pays for some training entities to permanently exist. I don't know, but then there needs to be a better solution, because you're just heaping it on the people that are getting out there and doing work, and they're eventually getting fed up of it. I mean, it's partly the fact that maybe as your career goes on and you're finding that drones don't make as much money as they're made out to be unless you're in a particular niche. And then because I know a lot of commercial operators are still doing other business, so it's an extra tool to their business.
Another hammer.
So all literally they have a completely different business, and they're running. Because there'll be some people that are already in video and mainly do that all the time. Other people that do for like what am I looking for, the word real estate, and the walkthroughs and so on, and then you might just do the drone for the outside. But a lot of it's the case now. They think, well, I can supplement stuff. I can supplement stuff with just the sub 250. So I don't need the word that just comes up time and again is like hassle or words to that effect. You're just making my life more difficult. There's not, when you look on the commercial groups, there's no joy. There's just generally people just disenchanted. And then there was even a post on it with the guy saying who'd been, I think he was around about number 400, so he'd be very early on for the authorizations with the CAA, and said, I've had enough. And a lot of people just joined in and said, yeah, I've already quit, or I'm thinking of quitting. There's a lot of people that are just, and it's some people that have been in the industry and you never think they'll be leaving because they're doing stuff for TV. These are, pretty big and well-paying jobs. But I think partly as well that maybe a bit of the novelty's worn off. Like the drone shots were always the money shots. So if you were filming something, it'd always have to include a drone shot, even if you needed it or not, because it's just like, wow. So maybe there's less of that. And also they might just be, we'll get one of our own crew that's in-house and they'll just stick up a 250 and, will anyone notice?
Yeah, because it's only a 2-second shot. I'm very the reveals, reveals over trees, pullbacks, and a little bit of an orbit. I was over that years ago. I don't need to see another drone shot, another sort of, spurious
it's become
drone
pretty
shot.
Mundane, hasn't it? Cliff raises a very good point there in his comment. Do you see that point, Gary? You're out of step with the rest of the
I see that. I just feel that I'm not out of step. I'm just playing my own furrow, as it were. And it did actually, maybe that's why I was looking for a piece of paper. It reminded me that when I was, I don't know, about 8 or 9, I used to be able to draw that thing because I used to watch that then, or however many thousand years ago. But if there were to be a model, I'm afraid it would have to be Thunderbird 2 for me. I couldn't countenance that. It would have to be Thunderbird 2. That was the green one, wasn't it, with all the gear in it? Yeah.
What about Thunderbird 6? Thunderbird 6, that's more up your alley.
Well, the space station. No, what was 6?
That was 5.
What was
there was a whole movie made about Thunderbird 6. I've got it on DVD. It was a tiger moth.
Oh, was it?
Lovely. When they put the new motorway in the UK, they were able to fly that plane down there.
That as well. Yes. Yeah. And she got into trouble for doing it, didn't she?
Yeah.
And then came up with some spurious legalese as to why it was okay. Yes.
History in the making.
Oh, you're right. Now I want. Oh my. Yeah, we are. Well, I am anyway. Space. It's 1975. That's when Space 1999 was.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. Barbara Bain and Martin Landau are both dead now, aren't they?
75. My hat. Well, I was 8. Yeah, I was 8. So yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I used to draw it at school, and they always had an American character in all of those series because Lou Grade was trying to sell to the American audience.
Well, Ed Bishop was in most of that stuff, wasn't he?
Well, these were paid for. It was half. Well, it was basically European countries and the US side. And I could be geek and just tell you, they did that Razor Titanic movie. That was the same company, and that lost so much money that bankrupted them. So that ended up, so that's why all the TV shows ended.
Sure,
it had to be fully funded by ITV and the likes, and they didn't have the money. Yeah, most of the people watching it probably won't even.
But at least now we've got Big Brother and Celebrity Come Dancing, or whatever it is. The quality of television has soared over the decades.
And get back on top of it, says Cliff. It was his fault.
Yeah, you diverted us, Cliff.
Yeah, that's not fair. And what mole's on your table, Cliff? Oh no, Cliff! It's Cliff. The young ones reference it.
Did you see? Was it in the BBC? I saw an article where the Ukrainians are finding it difficult to get parts to build their FPV drones now. Yeah.
Yes, that was interesting that's filtering through to the mainstream.
I wonder if it'll affect the hobby. Mind you, they're probably using far more parts than the entire hobby put together.
But absolutely. But I was thinking what was more interesting in that BBC thing was that DJI wouldn't and Autel wouldn't comment on the situation, and the part they wouldn't comment on was that that perhaps suppliers have got less gear into Europe, and DJI are continuing to have sale after sale after sale, which is also interesting. I wonder what the figures are going to be like this Christmas for anything that isn't a war. Because otherwise, I think they'll be doing all right. Otherwise,
will there actually be anything that isn't a war? Look at the way the world's gone. Conflicts are rising up left, right, and centre. I think we're headed for bad times.
It's funny because it's been a bit of conversation. I mean, social media over the last few weeks has been grim. It's a grim situation in the world. Social media is particularly grim because you've got people scoring points off each other for their own views. Get on my soapbox about which side I support, and it's all just very, very ugly and nasty. And then it's funny to see comments about it. Like people in the press saying it's just lovely that amongst all this, you've got those few Twitter accounts on niche topics that just stay to that topic. So I've just made sure that I've just posted anything about drones. I thought I'd keep off the politics entirely. So have your own views, but if you've got if you're doing something that's in a niche, keep to that, because partly it's just refreshing that you can actually just switch off from what's going on and just keep to your what your particular interests are.
And did you see the Sniper Wolf controversy on YouTube? Have you followed that one?
No.
I always bitch about YouTube, but there was this one content creator. She's a woman. She's got 34 million subscribers, and she does reaction videos. So basically, she steals video from somebody, sits there with their face in the corner going like this, and replays the video.
Yes.
And one guy was complaining about that she's stealing content, and YouTube lets her get away with it. And so she doxed him. You know what that is, don't you?
Yeah.
She went around to his house and whatever. And that is a huge no-no in the social media community. You can't dox people. There's been channels that have been completely removed for threatening to dox somebody. She's got 34 million views. So she went around, doxed this guy, and everyone was calling on YouTube, do something. Why are you not acting on this? She's broken terms of service. YouTube finally came out and gave her a temporary demonetization, which only affected one of her channels. She's still making people about $100,000 a month out of her other channel, which is still monetized. And it's a temporary demonetization. And she's still basically, so they just slapped her on the wrist, doing something that's got so many people kicked off the thing. It shows YouTube is only about the money. She's too valuable to actually censure in any significant way. So people lose their channels for nothing, and she is able to do this crap and just carry on as if nothing had happened. And it's actually aggravated and annoyed the community to a huge extent. And people are opening their eyes to the fact that YouTube is just really beyond a joke now. It's just unacceptable, the lack of morals and ethics that they're displaying. And that's good because it means there's more chance of something else coming up. Although, Library, the Odyssey people, Library has gone bankrupt because they were sued by the SEC for illegal trading in securities because they had a blockchain. So the SEC sued them, and they've had to declare bankruptcy because of all the costs and the fines.
Sure, that's going to make
it just shows you how. I wonder how much of that. I wonder how much Google or other things are behind that, because Odyssey was probably the biggest contender for YouTube. And maybe they saw it gaining traction and thought, we'll just get rid of those. Bring in the SEC, do something about the fact they got blockchain, and now we don't have to worry about them anymul. It's crap. The world is a sad place.
It's only 2 out of build tutorial, Clifffield build tutorial series. I don't understand that one there, but this is going out on Facebook and LinkedIn as we speak. So other ways are available, but I don't get much traction. Definitely all Well, there's
And
there's quite.
Cliff says, I can make a killing, pardon the pun, if you sell your missile plans right now. And I think the council needs to be reminded, don't mess with a man who's got a cruise missile.
Yeah, but you could have a cruise sheep from that distance. What's the point of having a cruise? Are you going to send it all the way to the top of the island and back again just to make a point? You know,
I could launch it with a trebuchet and it'd reach the council chambers.
Exactly. Oh, did I moan about this last week, or did I make a video and be moaning about about the council that got given an award in the UK from Oban Connell Airfield to a school with a school meals delivery, a whopping 1.5 kilometers away, and they got an innovation award for that. You could walk up the beach. You could walk up the beach, the school, and I did start googling trebuchets to see just how far you could, you know,
throw your average piano.
Yeah, yes. So I thought it's not what's needed if people are going to start taking delivery drones seriously.
And did you see that great big drone that they made out of foam board? I posted a tweet about it. Great big. BBC's got it. It's like 14 feet across or something. It's made of foam board, weighs 22 kilos. It's the biggest, and it's just a big quadcopter. And I made a tweet saying basically, the irony is that you can fly this big 22 kilogram drone probably 1 kilometer away under the line of sight rules, but you can only fly a DJI Mini 80 meters, which is safer.
Can you fly out that far even though you can see it? I'm not
you have
sure
to be able to orient it. Just be able.
Which country was it in?
UK. You have to be able to orient the craft, not just see it, but orient it visually.
Something's telling me, and I'm probably wrong, that you've got to stop at 500 meters horizontally if you can still see it. Something's telling me that.
Is that it?
Yeah.
How are you going to fly gliders?
Horizontally. Wow. Okay. You don't add much up to it, and that soon disappears. Yeah. No, you can't. Enough for cheese. I don't know. It's no good reading the bottom comment. No distance rule, says Mick over there in Australasia. It's cool. Money's cool. I don't have cheese. I don't really get that. Fixed distance rule was removed. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, well, I stand corrected. But yeah, someone just did that for a stunt, did they?
Yeah, some students, I think, or something like that. I can't remember. I saw it's on the BBC website, so it's probably wrong. It's probably a lie.
Probably a lie. Yes, very likely.
Jimmy Savile will have a hand in it somehow.
God. Oh, Bruce.
You see why people like me, eh?
Oh, yeah. It's all there. But I don't think it's just spiteful. VFR in line of sight only.
Talking of Googling.
Yeah.
Because we were speaking about EHang the other week. I think Bruce had a little bit more of a look than me, but me and Bruce had a look at at least one of the EHang's own documents, just to try and understand a bit more about the economics of it and so on. And the battery, because one of the comments Bruce had made about you think the batteries will get hit a lot harder than an EV battery, this probably wouldn't have as much life, and that was borne out. It suggested the battery would last 500 cycles, so you basically got 500 trips, and then you need a brand new battery. So really, the idea is you buy the drone, but you'd have to buy a load of batteries as well. So that really your cost would be buying all the batteries that go with it, because I think that's bulk of the cost.
You're going to
work out the
economics.
Yeah, at 500 cycles per battery, if that battery is 100 grand, which is not unreasonable. I mean, that's how much per flight? Look at that. How you amortize it across how many passengers? It makes it uneconomic.
2, yeah. Oh, I assume people are going to be willing to pay in the first couple of years, and absolutely before the big accident rates start occurring, people are going to pay a fortune for the novelty of saying they've flown in a drone. I guess.
Only do it once though.
Will a cube fit through my letterbox? Well, yes, it will. The box is very. Actually, will it? Would it fit through a standard letterbox? Hang on.
Depends how fast you approach the problem.
It depends what your postman's like and how he's pushed it through. No, that's not
I wouldn't have thought so. Wouldn't you? That won't go through a letterbox, will it?
No, not at all. No.
Depends what you launch it with,
but not the packaging or whatnot.
No. Oh, someone maybe somebody has spotted that perhaps Philip Wonka is prowling this evening as we say this. E equals MC squared.
As you've said that, I thought I went last week and had a go, and I didn't get any. Philip
You
Wonka.
got no Phillips. You should have just.
I've just gone now, and within 2 clicks, I've got one. Yay.
You've got a Philip Wonka. Hooray! Well, click it, fill it in, click it. Oh, actually, no. What do they say in competitions? You shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, staff and family not eligible.
That's all those sort of things, isn't it? Yeah. My postman would have. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If postman is sort of parcel delivery people, they'll find a way. They use trebuchets, don't they? Consistently.
That last mile delivery. Yep.
Yeah, last 5 meters through the front of your house. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, we've just gone over the hour. What else have we? Well, what else did you find out? Anything else about the EHang while you were there, or you just?
No, not with the doc. I wanted to delve around and get a bit more information because it's all a bit lightweight because it's all written for investors.
There's so much stuff that isn't covered though, because you say you've got to have multiple batteries, you've got to have charging infrastructure, you've got to have all the stuff that's not just the craft. It's like a UAV system. People buy $5,000 drone and a $20,000 system. It's all the ancillaries that add up. So, and if you're going to be flying to other points, you can only fly half or less than half the range of the craft because you've got to come back unless the other point has a charger. So to go A to B, you're going to have 2 charging setups and spare batteries at each end. And so the cost becomes really, really high very quickly if you want to do anything other than just trial flights.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding of the model is you'd be basically you'd have to have preset, basically you would have to have building set up where you can land on them that were dedicated EHang takeoff landing points. And as you flew over to one, you'd say, "Oh, this one's incoming. Have a battery ready for it. Take the battery off that's on there." I couldn't see anything that detailed what the battery change time was, but we'll just have to imagine. You take the battery off, takes however long, put all the battery on, it can then go out and do a flight and just keep that going. So that because it suggested, I think it suggested really quite a long number, a long operational time in a day of suggesting you could do loads
20 hours, they're saying. So, 20 hours.
Yeah,
20 hours in a day with one aircraft.
Yeah.
So, but that would have to be every time landing, switch the battery out again. So you would have to have loads and loads of batteries because I think the battery said 2 hours charging time. So you'd have to have a few on and.
That must be connected to a power station. That must be 2 hours charging time for a battery of that size.
And remember, you're going to have heating because in a cold climate, you have to heat the battery before you can charge it properly. There's all these little bits that add up. The charging stations are complex. And how are you going to get all those megawatts to the top of a building?
Yeah, what concerns me is if you're just thinking about it for money, I've got to make all these flights and that, there'll be the temptation to do a trip, land, take off again, try and do another trip. And we all know, as we do with our drones, once you've landed, you get your misleading battery readings. You think you've got more juice than you have, and boom, it's out of the sky. So I think if there ever is an accident, it will come about from that a business that's operating, saying we've got to get every single second out of this thing, and do a drop there and grab someone there and do that, and then that's when you get a problem. If it's playing A to B, A to B, A to B all the time. It's a lot safer in theory.
My money's on the Hyperloop.
Yeah, well, Steve says perhaps they could use nitro engines, or maybe they could just make it a control line thing and use power wires. Just go around in a big circle, or as you said, Bruce, land it on the top like Wing did. Yeah, no doubt it'll work. It'll fly people for a couple of minutes up over, but will it be? It's not going to be that much more fun than a fairground ride if you've got a 5-minute flight in the thing. And
I think the Fairly Rotodyne proved this concept is flawed.
Oh, come on. That was a wonderful piece of kit.
I know that, but if you couldn't do it with a Fairly Rotodyne, how do they think they can do it with these cheap little Chinese electric things? Brilliant machine.
Yeah.
For me, the only way you do this economically at the moment, because I think part of it alludes to, this could get better if better battery technology comes along. But we've all been saying if better battery technology came on for 10 years now, and it hasn't. It would be as if if you had this thing operating in a tourist destination where people were going on holidays and it was something spectacular and you could charge people in excess, that's where you can make this kind of thing.
It's an amusement ride.
Work.
It is an amusement ride, but it won't be that much more exciting than the big wheel or something.
Interesting
like that.
enough, when they were developing the Martin jetpack, and it's great, it's fantastic, they pivoted to selling rides on it in a warehouse to make money. That's a typical sign when people start talking amusement rides. You know that they've just lost the plot.
That Sensat, that lot that caused a bit of kerfuffle in the UK a few years ago now with their BV lost flight, because you mentioned pivoted, and that made me remember that they've pivoted to not drones now. So they had all sorts of, they claimed all sorts of BV lost firsts in the UK, which weren't at all true. But they made a lot of money on the back of that. But they have pivoted away from the RPAS space this week, which made me go nah at them.
I think there'll be a lot more pivoting as people's shirts start disappearing off their backs.
Yeah, I think on Beta Technologies that they've done really well with continuing to push out and market their machine, but they're not driving it around the sky with the VTOL element. It's just the electric motor at the back, which is, it's groovy enough in itself. But I'm intrigued to see how long it's taking them to actually start flying around with the VTOL stuff connected as well. But they're getting their charging stations in place and visiting airfields and doing this and doing that. So I think them and Dufour are the only two that I think in the future might have something. EHang, nah, and that other was it Xpeng or whatever it is, that Beta. I work on that project. Oh, wow. Oh, Scott. Well, I think, as I've just said, I think you and Dufour are the only two that I would risk my shirt on. It looks a very, very well considered machine, and also the delivery is, I believe, why am I talking? Scott can tell us, but I think delivery is where they're going first, and military use cases. NDA broken. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you must come on. You must come on and talk to us. You must, the best you can, Scott. You must come on and talk to us about it. It's what was going on John Dufour. Oh, well, there you go. It's such a small world, isn't it? What a small world. So then, Scott, if you dare say it, then why do you think those two projects have ended up being so sensible and less VC bullshit related? Why have they got those engineers? And didn't say what he did. I'm interesting. Can't get him in quick enough, can we? Need to get him on. Bristol Aerospace World. From Bristol. I was born in Bristol. That means I work with them as well. No. Yeah, they do have some excellent people. They do. Anyway, this isn't going to work well as a conversation to the chat, is it? So, at an hour and 7 minutes. But how exciting to have somebody of that caliber in the comments. That's amazing. Dear viewer, wherever you are in the world, look after yourselves. We will see you again at 2100 GMT next week, trying to get Scott to tell us about the British or the Bristol aerospace industry. That'll be good. We'll try and twist him up. Look after yourselves. We'll see you next week. Here goes one. There's one, and there's two. Cheers for now.